we are going to do a mat-based practice to begin with this morning and then bring ourselves to standing. So if you aren't going to be on the floor, as always, have a chair to hand so that you can take the chair option instead. And if you are going to take the practice on the floor, when we come to standing, you will either need some yoga bricks or a chair. You can use the wall as well, just anything that you've got. If you are taking the practice in the chair, you can come to standing at that point, but if you want to be in the chair for the entire duration, then have an additional chair. So hopefully everyone has got everything that they need. Okay, so we're going to start lying down or seated in your position of Tadasana. So whatever you choose, take your time to settle, to respond to what it is that you feel that you need so that you can allow yourself to physically settle. So when you come to lying down or when you come to sitting in the chair, what do you need to make you feel more at ease? What do you need to be comfortable? So maybe as we come to stillness, you need to move your body first. Maybe you need to add a blanket underneath your head, underneath your body, whatever it is that you need, so that you can start to relax and soften into the shape that you're in. And so either softening the gaze or closing the eyes now as we navigate that awareness beneath the layers of the skin. So maybe feeling into the sensations. Maybe there's already a certain part of your body that feels a little more present, whether that's a feeling of tiredness, whatever that is. So now just come into this sense of the whole of the body. The whole of your body in the room that it's in the shape that it's in, where you feel supported. And then bring in that awareness now to feeling the breath. So still with that awareness of the body, and in this stillness, observing those small flowing movements, particularly of the front of the body, as you observe each cycle of your breath. And maybe as we've come straight to stillness and to this lying down position, maybe you notice that there's a lot of movement within. So just noticing if you're able to feel the breath, and if you're not in complete awareness of it, we know that's normal, but we're using it to bring us back and just notice the quality of our presence to begin with. And then we will introduce our mantra. So connecting so to the in-breath and hum to the out-breath. And you may elongate those two words so that they match the rate of your breath. Okay, so now we're going to start with a little bit of movement. So bringing your knees towards the chest. If you're lying down, you can do this one knee at a time. You can hug both knees. You can have a little freedom movement if you like. And if you're in the chair, you can hug one knee at a time, or you can come into that forward fold motion, whichever you prefer. Okay. So now we're going to come into bridge pose to bring a bit of lightness, space. So placing the feet roughly hip width apart, ensuring that you've got that neutral spine to begin, so the back of the neck is long, hands running alongside you. And then on that next inhalation, we'll push the feet into the ground to encourage the hips towards the ceiling. And then as you exhale, lowering as you round the spine until the tailbone meets the ground. With each in-breath, space and length. With each out-breath, support. So as you continue that in that lying down variation, if you're in the chair, a couple of options. We will make this more of a pelvic movement. So we're going to tilt the pelvis forwards as the chest bone comes towards the ceiling, and then bring the spine and the pelvis back to that neutral position. So as we tilt the pelvis forwards, feeling the weight come forwards, feeling that gentle arch in the spine, and then returning back. So that's one option. Another option is that you can come towards the edge of the seat, and depending on the height of your chair and the length of your legs, you can send one leg behind you. So we're going to allow the toes to come to move across the ground, and then the knee come towards the ground to bring that space across the hip, and then we're going to slide it back. If it feels better to be on the edge of the chair so that you've got a bit more space for the hip, then we'll just take a couple on one side and then taking a couple on the other. So those of you that are lying down, option to continue in the variation that you are in, or you can bring in an extra movement of the arms. So the next time you exhale and land the pelvis, will bring the hands to rest onto the body. This time as you lift, we're going to open the arms out to the side. As you exhale, returning them back. So just see how that feels. Make sure that it feels comfortable. There's no discomfort. If you prefer to have the arms resting on the ground in that first variation, then please do. And then as you next come to that neutral position, taking a little pause. If you feel like you want to have a rounding, whether that's bringing the knees towards the chest, whether that's coming into a forward fold if you're in the chair, and then returning back to that neutral position. Okay, so now we're going to take some circles with our knees. So if you are lying down, we're going to lift one leg up, keeping a 90-degree angle in the knee, and then we're going to start to make a circle with the knee. So we're bringing this movement into the hip, and as you circle the knee, taking them as small or as big as you like, and if you're in the chair, it's going to be exactly the same. Just a different load. It's actually harder when you're in the chair because you've got the force of gravity pulling you down and the weight of the body is different. We're going to circle in that opposite direction on that same leg. And then we're going to lower that foot. So just notice how that leg feels, whichever one you started on. And then do the same on the other side. So as you lift that leg, whether you're lying down or seated, we're going to start to create that circle with the knee. So we're keeping the leg in the same position, but the movement is coming into the hip. So we're directing the movement of the knee, keeping the leg in the same position, but it's also bringing that activation and mobilization into the hip. So it might feel a little bit clunky, and then we're going to move in the opposite direction. And then bringing that foot back down to the ground as you notice how that leg feels. Okay, so then bringing yourself into a position of tabletop. So choosing whatever is right for you as always, whether that is resting on your hands, whether that's resting on a chair so that there's less load. You can either be on the hands or on the forearms. And if you are in the chair, you can come to standing if you like and rest onto the chair, or you can create the same shape in this way. So we're going to take a lateral variation of cat. So we're going to move the hands over to one side. So this is from obviously this orientation. If you're on the ground, the hands are going to be a little over to one side on the ground. So then we're going to switch the breath as well to what we usually do. So as you inhale, we're going to round the spine. And as you exhale, come back through. So with each inhalation, we're using that to send the breath to the back of the body. And then as you exhale, returning back. So notice how this feels to be in this asymmetric position. Notice how it feels along both sides of the body. And then as you come back through that neutral position, we're going to take a pause here. And then whichever side you're on, I should have said a side. So if you're over to the right, you're going to extend your left leg out behind you. So if you are on the ground and you're extended over to the right, you're extending that left leg out. You can keep the toes connected to the ground if you like. You can have the leg lifted, but then you're going to encourage that leg over to the right. So we just want to create this real position of lengthening along the left side of the body. And if you're in the chair, you're going to take the leg over, but you're going to reach more. So it's more of an action from the torso. And we're going to hold it here for a couple of breaths. And then bring that leg back down, bring the hands back to bringing the spine into a neutral position. Take a pause, notice what is present, notice what's going on beneath the skin. And then moving the hands over to the other side. So as you move the hands over and settle in that position, we're then going to start with that inhalation as we round the spine, and then the exhalation as we return. So with each inhalation, using that to encourage space, that extra little bit more space in the body. And then this time, as you come through that neutral position, we're then going to add in that extension of the leg. So if you are over to the left this time, then you're going to extend that right leg out behind you and then walk it over to the left. And so we're going to hold it in this position so that we can really feel that elongation along the right side of the body. And exactly the same if you're in the chair, apart from you cross the leg over this way and more of a reach. And then bringing yourself back into that neutral position. And then starting to rock the bum back towards the heels. Taking the knees wider, keeping the toes together, and coming into child's pose. So however that is for you, whether that's resting on your hands, whether that's having the arms behind you, having the arms ahead. And if you're in the chair, we're coming into that forward fold position. And just letting the head release towards the ground. So if that feels okay in your head, otherwise we're going to keep the head higher. then very slowly starting to lift the head and bring yourself back to that upright position. Okay, so if you're on the ground, you're going to gradually bring yourself now to a standing position. So however you would like to do that this morning, whether that's through a down dog, whether that's through a step forwards, however you wish to come up to standing. And so just maintaining that position of Tadasana if you're in the chair. And taking a pause, softening the gaze or closing the eyes. Maybe taking a sigh, maybe adjusting how the feet are connected to the ground. Okay, so taking a wide leg stance, we're going to come to face this alongside of the mat. Option to take a wide leg stance in the chair. We're going to bring the arms out to the side. Softening the shoulders, the palms are facing forwards. And then starting to lower your left hand over to the right. Let it land on the leg, wherever that is. And then we're going to unravel ourselves back up to that starting position. Then we'll lower the right hand over to the left. And then bringing yourself back up. So we're going to lower on an exhalation and rise on an inhalation. So ensure that wherever the hand comes to land, it feels okay in the whole of your body. So also not too low so that you can still come up without causing any discomfort. It may feel like a bit of effort, but as long as there's no pain from the position and movement that you're creating, take your time and just have that little check-in to make sure that the movement is matching your breath. So we're not trying to rush any of those elements. Okay, we're going to make this the last one on each side. And then this time as you bring yourself back up, we're going to float the hands down. Okay, so now grabbing your yoga bricks or your chair or your wall, whatever it is that you're using, and we're staying in this wide leg stance. So I've got all my bricks in the car, so I'm going to use a chair. And we're going to bring the chair so that it is, or your bricks, so that they are in front of you. So you can have the bricks whichever orientation you like. Taking your hands into your hip creases and allowing the spine to be long to begin with. As you next take an exhalation, really slowly starting to lower forwards, and we're keeping the spine in that neutral position. So I'm just going to come to the side. So as you lower, keeping it nice and long, and forward again. And then I'm going to bring the hands to rest onto the chair. So if the chair is a bit high for you, you can come onto the forearms. If you've got bricks, you're going to be having the hands on the bricks, whatever height. For some of us, it may be that the floor is available. So choose whichever is available for you. And then making sure you feel stable, because we are going to start to switch the weight from one hand to the other. So make sure that the height feels sustainable for you to be here. Okay, so I think this is the best way for you to see me clearly. So then we're going to start to lift one arm. We're going to bring the elbow towards the ceiling. Maybe the arm opens out. And then we're bringing that hand back to rest onto your support. Then we're going to lift the other arm. And then lower. We're just going to alternate from one side to the other. Whether you are using the chair, whether you are using the blocks, whether you're using the ground. Taking your time once again to be in the movement, to be aware of your arms moving in the space that you're in, the awareness of your steady foundations, your feet, your legs, your hips, keeping you stable. And then the next time that you bring your hand to connect to your support, we're going to take our time to come out of this just as we entered. So shifting the weight back into the feet and starting to activate the legs as you lift the hands, bringing them into the hip creases. And then very slowly bringing yourself to standing. And then heel toeing the feet together. And I just realised I didn't run through the chair option, but those of you with the chair, I know you know what you're doing, so it would have been exactly the same with the other chair. Okay, so as you now return back to our position of Tadasana, either softening the gaze or closing the eyes. Maybe taking a sigh, coming back to our mantra, connecting that to the breath. Maybe you've been continuously doing that throughout the practice this morning. As you next take an inhalation, bringing the arms out to the side, up to the ceiling, palms together as you exhale to your centre. And we're going to repeat that a couple more times. Inhaling as we reach, exhaling as you lower. And so as you repeat this, an awareness in the rest of the body. So feeling the fingertips moving through the air, feeling the space spreading across the chest as you inhale, an awareness of the ground and the relationship of the body with the ground as you exhale. And then this time as you lower the hands, taking a pause, bringing both hands now to rest over your heart centre. And we return back to this place which is our place of consciousness. So a reminder that anything that arises, whatever it is that you experience, you are the observer of what that is. So this part of you that recognises maybe a feeling of contentment or maybe a feeling of tiredness. So we're just noticing those things, and in noticing that we create space so that we can bring that awareness back to feeling the hands resting on the body, the feet connected to the ground, the breath as it brings this continuous movement even through stillness. And maybe that extra little element of mantra to give you another little anchor in being present. And then releasing the hands alongside you. And we're going to make our way to the ground. So bringing yourself now however you like. And as you come to the ground, just in that same way at the beginning of the practice, responding to what it is that you need today. So whether that is extra comfort, extra warmth, maybe it's a different position to what you usually choose. So whatever that position of rest is for you. And if you need to take a little bit of movement before you settle into that, maybe a little hug at the knees, maybe a rock, maybe an extend of the legs, whatever you like. course, if you're taking your Shavasana in the chair, using the support of the back of the chair. And whatever it is that is supporting us, releasing the weight of the body into it, into the ground, into the chair. An awareness of your spine. Are we embracing that neutral position so that it's in the optimum position for the breath to flow freely? Maybe a little encouragement of the chin to the chest to bring that space along the back of the neck. And if the eyes are closed, ensuring that the eyelids meet gently. Noticing if there's any resistance. Inviting a lot of space. And just using these first few breaths to work with that exhalation in softening, in releasing. And then being with whatever it is that supports you in being the most present, allowing you to be in complete awareness, whether that's the breath, whether that's an awareness of the body and how you are connected to the ground, or if that's using our mantra. Connecting so to the in-breath and hum to the out-breath. And so being in complete awareness of that doesn't mean that we're not wandering off and continuously returning. So allow yourself to notice. Keep encouraging that awareness back without trying to force anything. We're noticing and returning. Now we'll take some slightly deeper inhalations and slightly longer exhalations. And if you are lying on the ground, we're going to bring ourselves over to the right side. And encouraging yourself to an upright position. Allowing the chin to come towards the chest. And taking this final moment, giving thanks to the teachers who've practiced before us, allowing us to benefit from the practice this morning, and thank you to yourselves for giving yourself this time. Blinking the eyes open if they're closed, and coming back into the space that you're in.